All right, let's decode the battery world. Today, we're doing a deep dive into lithium-ion batteries.
Ooh, exciting.
They power, like, everything these days. Phones, electric cars, so much. We've got a ton of research to dig into.
Sounds good.
From Battery University, a Department of Energy article. The works. I always thought batteries were, just batteries. But
I just kind of...
there's a whole secret world inside those little things, different chemistries, all kinds of trade-offs. I'm pumped to learn about this.
Yeah, me too. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. So first off, how many types of lithium-ion batteries are there even?
You'd be surprised. At least 12 distinct types. Each one's kind of fine-tuned for a certain job.
12? I had no clue. Okay, gotta start with the one we all use. Lithium cobalt oxide, LCO.
Yep.
That's what's been in our smartphones forever, right?
Exactly. Popular because of its high specific energy means it packs a lot of charge in a small size. So your phone can last all day.
Right, makes sense. But I read they don't last as long as some other types. What's the deal there?
Think of LCO like a sprinter. Great for a quick burst, not the marathon. Shorter lifespan, sensitive to heat, which means less stable over time.
Oh, so that's why fast charging my phone all the time is probably bad.
You got it. It stresses those LCO batteries, shortens their life. Like revving a car engine constantly wears it out faster.
Oof, guilty as charged. Literally. Okay, so if LCO's the sprinter, what about lithium manganese oxide, LMO? What article called it the power lifter? How's that different?
Yeah. LMO is all about high power, short bursts. Not as much total energy stored, though. Like a weightlifter, super strong, but not going to run a mile. Good for power tools, medical devices, anything needing a sudden jolt.
So not my phone then.
Probably not, unless you only need it for a few minutes. But here's a cool thing. LMO is often combined with other types, like NMC, to make a hybrid.
Oh, so like a best of both worlds battery.
Yeah, you get the strengths of each. And speaking of NMC, that's lithium nickel manganese cobalt oxide, one of the most successful ones out there.
I'm noticing a trend. Lots of elements combined in these things. So what makes NMC special?
It's a good all-rounder. Decent capacity and power. So very versatile, like the decathlete of batteries.
Not a sprinter, not a power lifter, but a well-rounded competitor.
Exactly.
Now, they mentioned using NMC in those 18650 cells. What even are those?
Think of it like a standard size of battery, like AA, but rechargeable and much stronger. Used in laptops, power tools, even electric cars.
Okay, so it's powering all sorts of stuff. And there were different NMC cells with different capacities and discharge rates. How does that work?
That's the cool thing. NMC can be tweaked. Adjust composition, structure, you can make it prioritize energy storage, long runtime, or high power output for demanding tasks, like choosing a car engine size, fuel efficiency versus horsepower.
Right, tailoring it to the job.
Yep. Then there's adding silicon to the anode
Yeah.
that can boost capacity even further.
Ooh, silicon, like in computer chips.
Well, similar idea, different application. Here it's like packing more passengers onto a plane. Imagine squeezing 4,000 miller into an 18650 cell.
4,000. Wow, that's a lot. But got to be a trade-off, right? Nothing's free in the battery world.
Yeah, for sure. Silicon adds capacity, but makes it less stable, shorter lifespan. Always balancing performance with reliability.
Makes sense. High risk, high reward kind of thing.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Okay, so we've got the sprinter, power lifter, all-rounder. What about lithium iron phosphate, LFP? I saw it highlighted for safety and lifespan, but lower capacity.
Oh yeah, LFT is interesting. Think marathon runner. Not fastest, but super resilient. Uses nanoscale tech, so handles lots of power without overheating, crazy long lifespan. Tens of thousands of charge cycles, potentially.
Tens of thousands. That's like forever in battery years. So what's the catch? Why isn't everything LFP?
Trade-off is energy density. Lower voltage, so can't store as much in the same space as, say, NMC.
Right.
And more prone to self-discharge, so loses charge faster when not being used.
Okay, so LFP is the go-to for longevity, even if it means less total capacity.
Pretty much.
Before we move on, though, something I was curious about. I read full charge condition is bad for batteries. What's that all about?
Yeah, lithium-ion batteries are actually most stable around 50% charge. Keeping them full all the time stresses them out.
Wait, so charging my phone to 100% every night is ruining the battery?
Well, not ideal. Like a rubber band always stretched, it loses elasticity over time. Better to stay between 20% and 80%.
Mind blown. I had no idea. It's definitely changing my habits after this.
Good to know.
Okay, so we've done LCO, LMO, NMC, LFP, 4 down, like 8 to
A
go.
lot more to learn, for sure.
What about lithium, nickel cobalt, aluminum oxide, NCA? This one was described as similar to LCO, but higher capacity, used in things like Tesla cars.
NCA is like LCO's bigger brother, you could say. Adding aluminum gives it a boost, both capacity and power.
So like LCO on steroids.
You could think of it that way, but like any high-performance thing, there are trade-offs. Not the same lifespan or stability as some others.
That balancing act again, huh? Every battery's got strengths and weaknesses. So fascinating. All right, what's next on this battery adventure? I saw lithium titanate mentioned, LTO. This one had like exceptional safety, good and cold, super long lifespan.
Oh yeah, LTO is a unique one. It uses a lithium titanium oxide anode, which makes it incredibly safe, practically immune to overheating.
So super safe and good for winter. Nice.
Exactly. It also has a long lifespan, tens of thousands of charge-discharge cycles without much degradation. It's pretty remarkable.
Tens of thousands again. That's amazing. But it did say lower specific energy compared to other types.
Yeah, that's the trade-off. Lower operating voltage means it can't pack as much energy in the same space.
Like a smaller engine gets better mileage, but maybe not as much power.
Good way to think about it.
I also read LTO could do ultra-fast charging.
That's one of the exciting things about it. Charges super fast without hurting its safety or lifespan.
Imagine charging your electric car in minutes. That'd be a game changer.
It would be. But there are challenges. Cost is a big one. LTO is more expensive to make than other types right now.
The high-end option. Got to pay for the good stuff.
Yeah, kind of like that. Hopefully that changes as the tech gets better.
Fingers crossed. Okay, so 6 types down. But there was this mention of future batteries still in development.
Oh, yeah.
Solid state, lithium sulfur, lithium air, all sounded super high-tech, potential for tons of energy, but with challenges too.
They're the cutting edge. Each one could change everything, but still early days.
I'm intrigued. What's the deal with solid-state batteries?
They're the hot topic because they swap out the flammable liquid in regular batteries for a solid electrolyte.
So safer.
Much safer. Less prone to degradation, too. Plus, potential for way higher energy densities.
No more worrying about battery fires and they pack more punch. Sign me up. But if they're so great, why aren't we using them already?
It's the complexity and cost. Making them at scale is still really expensive and hard to do. Like the first computers, bulky, pricey, not ready for prime time yet.
Right, so the promise is there, but still a ways to go.
That's the gist of it.
What about lithium sulfur then? How do those fit in?
They use sulfur as the cathode material, which is abundant and cheap, unlike the cobalt or nickel in regular lithium ions.
So cost advantage.
Yep. And the potential energy densities are huge, even more than solid state, theoretically.
More than solid state?
Yeah.
That's wild. What's the downside? There's got to be one.
You're right, there always is. Right now, lithium sulfur has a bad cycle life and low power output. So tons of energy stored, but doesn't last long, not much power yet.
So like an engine with bad gas mileage. Potential's there. Got to work on the efficiency.
Good analogy.
Okay, last one on the future list. Lithium air. What's special about them?
This one's the most ambitious, probably. It actually uses oxygen from the air as part of the battery.
What? Air in a battery? That sounds kind of crazy.
It is pretty wild. Could mean super lightweight batteries with crazy high energy densities. We're talking powering electric planes, maybe even spaceships someday.
Sci-fi stuff.
Oh.
But probably some major hurdles before we get there, right?
Oh, yeah. Lithium air is super complex. Issues with stability, lifespan, efficiency.
Right. So the concept car of the battery world. Cool to think about, but not on the road just yet.
Exactly. Lots more research to be done.
Well, that was a whirlwind tour of battery types. It's amazing how much work is going into these things.
It's a huge field, for sure.
But with so many options, it's hard to keep track of what's good for what. Luckily, I found this chart, Figure 15.
Oh, yeah.
It compares all these types across different factors, like a cheat sheet for batteries.
Kind of, but as we've seen, there's no one best battery. Depends what you need it for.
Right, it's all about those trade-offs. But the chart helps visualize it all.
It does. For example, you can see NCA has the highest specific energy, so makes sense for electric cars where range matters.
But LMO and LFP are better for power and stability.
Exactly. Power tools, electric buses, where safety and quick bursts are key.
And then LTO's got that crazy lifespan, super safe too.
Yep. Might not have the highest capacity, but for things like grid storage, where it needs to work for years, LTO's a good contender.
So no one winner, just the right tool for the job, like you said.
That's the takeaway.
This has been eye-opening. I feel way more informed about batteries now.
Glad to hear it.
But I bet we've only scratched the surface, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be even more to learn about this.
Oh, for sure. But this is a good foundation.
Definitely. We'll be back after a short break to wrap up the deep dive with some final thoughts and where to learn more.
Yeah, it's crazy how far batteries have come, and they're only getting more important, for a sustainable future and all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But speaking of sustainability, it makes you think about the downsides, right? All these batteries, what about their own environmental impact?
That's a good point. With demand going up so fast, we got to think about where the materials come from, how they're mined, the whole process.
Yeah, it can't all be sunshine and rainbows. And then what happens to the batteries when we're done with them? We've got billions of phones, laptops, and soon electric cars all needing these things.
You're hitting on a key issue. Recycling. Got to make sure we're closing the loop, so to speak. Luckily, there's a lot of work being done on that front, figuring out how to recover those valuable materials from old batteries.
So it's not just chucking them in the trash, we can actually get stuff back from them.
Exactly. It's all about moving towards a circular economy, less waste, more reuse. It's a big challenge, but important.
For sure. It's not enough to just make better batteries, we got to make them responsibly. Okay, so switching gears a bit. I remember reading that early on, like with LCO, it was all about maxing out capacity. But now, with electric cars and grid storage, safety and lifespan are more important. Why the shift?
Well, a phone battery is one thing, right? It's small. Even if it goes bad, the damage is limited.
Okay, so a phone fire is bad, but not the end of the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But electric cars, grid storage, those use huge EE battery packs, thousands of cells working together.
Right, a car fire is a whole different story.
And if those go wrong, the consequences are way bigger. So safety has to be top priority. Same with lifespan. Imagine having to replace your car battery every couple of years. That'd be a nightmare.
Oh, totally. And super expensive.
Exactly. For electric cars and grid storage to really work, those batteries gotta last years, maybe decades. That's where things like LFP and LTO come in.
Right, those long-life, super safe ones. It's cool how these new uses are pushing battery tech in new directions.
It is. It's a good example of how science and engineering solve real-world problems. We need safer, longer-lasting batteries, and people are figuring it out.
It's encouraging, for sure. But honestly, with all this going on, it's kind of overwhelming. What are some big takeaways about the future of batteries that our listeners should keep in mind?
Well, first off, I think lithium-ion is here to stay. It's what we've got, it works, and it's going to be powering stuff for a long time.
But it's not going to be the same batteries forever.
Oh, definitely not. It's always evolving. Better chemistries, better manufacturing, better battery management systems, which are like the brains of the whole operation.
So it's not just the battery itself, it's the whole system around it.
Yep. And like we talked about, sustainability is becoming huge. Where the materials come from, how we recycle them, that's all got to be part of the picture.
Right. It's not just about making better batteries, it's about making them the right way.
Exactly. It's complex, but super important if we want a future with clean energy that actually works for everyone.
Well said. This has been a fascinating deep dive. I feel like I've learned a ton.
Me too. It's amazing how much we take batteries for granted, but there's a whole world of science and engineering behind them.
Totally. And as we move towards an electrified world, understanding this stuff is only going to get more important. Before we wrap up completely, I want to leave everyone with something to think about.
Go for it.
Given how fast things are changing, what does the future of energy really look like? Will it be solid-state batteries everywhere? Will we unlock even crazier energy density with lithium-sulfur or lithium-air? Or maybe something totally new we haven't even thought of yet? It's a super exciting time to be paying attention to this stuff.
I agree. The possibilities are endless.
I encourage everyone to keep learning, stay curious, and who knows, maybe one of you listening will be the one to come up with the next big battery breakthrough. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive, and we'll see you next time for another adventure in knowledge exploration.
Sounds good. Until then.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive. I feel like a battery expert now after all that.
Haha, right.
We covered so much, all those different types, the recycling stuff, the whole sustainability angle.
It's a lot to take in.
But before we finish up, I wanted to go back to that idea that there's no best battery.
Yeah, definitely.
It really is about the right tool for the job.
Absolutely.
Like imagine using a chef's knife to chop nuts. Wouldn't work well.
Not at all. Same with batteries. Each one's good at something.
Exactly. LCO for your phone, maybe LMO for a power drill. You wouldn't swap those?
Nope. Each one's got to match what you're actually using it for.
So if you're building like an electric car and need max range, NCA comes to mind. But a power tool needs that quick burst of energy. LMO might be better there.
Good example.
And then those giant grid storage systems, gotta last for ages. LFP or LTO maybe?
Yeah, the long-haul champs.
It's wild how much thought goes into picking the right battery for each thing.
It's not just slapping them in anywhere.
Well, You got to consider energy, power, lifespan, safety, cost, even the environmental stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Which, speaking of, that's something important to remember as we wrap up.
Definitely.
Lithium-ion is cool and all, but it's not a magic solution.
Not by itself.
We got to think about where the materials come from, the whole mining impact.
Absolutely.
And then what happens to the batteries afterwards. Got to recycle them, right? Not just trash them.
Huge part of it, yeah.
Sustainability's got to be part of the whole picture as we move to this electric future.
Couldn't agree more.
Well said. Okay, so as we finish up this deep dive on lithium-ion batteries, here's what I hope you all take away from it. First, there's a ton of different batteries out there, each with their own quirks.
Like a whole battery family.
Second, this stuff is always changing, so stay curious, keep learning. And third, let's all do our part to make this whole battery thing sustainable, from where the materials come from to how we recycle them.
Those are great points to end on.
This deep dive has been awesome. Learned so much. Hope you all did too.
Me too, definitely.
Go check out the sources we mentioned. Dig deeper into this stuff. It's fascinating.
There's always more to discover.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive, and we'll see you next time for another knowledge adventure.
See.